Well, I find myself doing a lot of rendering lately and making images like this, both with just sort of studio types of ones, or ones that are in with backplate, like this one here as well, and this nice sort of side hero shot. So these are all well and good, but how do you work with appearances in Render Studio? And I've got a quick tip. Hopefully, this will be a quick tip of how you can get that done. And I'm going to show you a couple of things in Render Studio which really exploit some of the really good parts of the Onshape platform, in that you can link between things in Onshape documents really easily, so you don't need to sort of overwhelm each document with lots and lots of imports. And if you do this sort of thing all the time, it makes sense to create some libraries. Okay, so how are we going to use that here? In this case, I'm going to use a demonstration part, or a series of parts. And you see here, it doesn't actually exist in this document. This is a link, right? So I've just inserted it from this other document. This is the same way that you would insert things into your own Onshape assembly from other documents, like that. So it works the same way in Render Studio because it is Onshape. Okay, so that's all well and good, and you can open up this, and you can see that there's a number of parts. Most of these are mesh parts, some of them are surfaces, so on and so forth. Now, when things come in, they come in with their own appearances, as set by the source CAD, and that's not very aesthetic, not very useful. So how are we going to put some nice things, like the ones we had over here and here? Now, Onshape Render Studio does have an extensive library, which you can access down here, and you can search for things, especially car paint. There's a bunch of different car paint models. And one of the first tips is that when you find something you like, make sure you right-click on it and add to your favorites. So those favorites are accessible here, and you can see here, I've got my own favorites, and there's 20 or so things, and I find these are the ones that I sort of go back to, my standard stock set of things. Now, that is the library, but what if you've got tweaks to things, like a certain temperature of the light source, or a certain amount of lumens of that light source, or a certain amount of fingerprints on this nickel? How do you save that? Well, there's a really easy and cool way to do that, and that is to create your own appearance library. Now, I've just got some random spheres here, and I've applied the appearances of my favorite, most of those favorites in here. So you can see there's a carbon fiber, there's a light source, there's some transparent plastics here which are going to be used a lot. There's a glass over here which is going to be for windows. In fact, I've made a few different ones, or a couple different ones in this document. I've got a Render Studio that's specifically for my automotive colors and appearances. I've got some car paint here, I've got a metallic car paint there, carbon fiber, there's some stitched leather for the seating. Anyway, all of the things I'm going to typically put in one of my car models. Okay, so now I do that, I just create a version, and this document is ready to go, because it's going to be referred to by other documents, especially this one. The first thing I do is I go to the appearances and right click and say use appearance from, and it allows me to select another Render Studio where I'm going to import the appearances from and refer to them. And again, this can be from a current document, so another Render Studio that's over here somewhere, or an outside document, and one that we have recently opened, which could be apparently my appearance library. So I'm going to select the automotive appearance library from the Render Studio there. I answer a couple of questions. I'm going to replace the duplicate appearances if there are any duplicates already in here. And I can select individual appearances. Potentially, I just want to use the carbon fiber, the metal, and the glass, or I could just select them all, right? And this is going to add them all into my appearance tree here, which then makes it very easy for me to start doing this. So I assign the appearance just by dragging them across. Now, it's all very fast. I'm going to do a couple more and then stop to do another very important tip. So the wheels are going to be cast aluminum, sorry. And let's do the tires here. So there's going to be some rubber on the bottom there. So it's all very drag and drop, very easy. Just turn around here for the moment and do the other wheels. What are we going to do? Yeah, I'll do this wheel here, and then obviously the cast aluminum shiny. Now, because these were brought in from another render studio, the parameters on there, and if I look at any one of these particular things like this metallic paint blue, I look at the properties of it, these are all, especially the clear coat roughness and the variation and refraction, all of these things I've tuned up in this particular sort of my library reference. So all the tunings that I've done over here are now automatically going to come in. Now, if I wanted to, I could easily just, change these locally here, turn it into more of a wrap. It's like that. But, my favorite was to have it a little bit more perfect, like somebody's doing a ceramic coating on these things. So let's have a little bit closer look and see how we're doing. Okay, so the next thing is going to be some glass. Now, before I do that, what's the difference between doing this? Oops, I'll undo that. What's the difference between doing it like this way and using the library itself? Now, a trap some people fall into is that they use the library and they keep adding, carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber, to all these different parts, and they'll see their list over here start to grow, because it's every time you take something out of the library, about the library down here, it creates a new appearance where you can tweak them individually. What I want to do is use the same appearance universally, when I do all these different panels, so that I can easily edit them in one shot. So that's another good reason to use this method that I've just showing you here. So I'm going to go to the glass, and you see here this is a composite part which consists of multiple different parts. I'm going to put my transparent, maybe orange? Yeah, transparent orange on the corner markers and to the back there. Now, we've got some funny looking thing going on in the front here, so let's have a look at that. You'll notice that there's multiple layers here. So if I hide, and I'm just using the shortcut key Y to hide a particular component, you'll see here that underneath there is sort of the light bucket, and it's this funny orange color which has come from the CAD. So I'm going to use my chrome in there, and you see that's all very nice. Okay, and now I can show all and put the glass back in the front, and I get this really nice effect on the front there. Now, this is not a completely very, very detailed model. This is just a quick one that I found to use for this demonstration here. Now, just to do a couple more things to finish this off, because I think you're getting the gist here. I'm going to get rid of that with some, use the sort of a generic black, and then I'm going to go to the back view here. And one of the ones I really like for exhaust is the nickel color. I mean, you could use the titanium one if you really wanted to, but the nickel one actually has a really nice color to it, especially the one which is the glossy fingerprints. It's got a little bit of smudging on it, and you can control that smudging over here. You can increase the amount of smudges or the roughness. You can change the texture scale. And again, all of these were sort of this favorite settings of mine that were defined back here. There is the nickel over there. Last little bit, let's do a bit more chrome work. Let's make the badges show up there and there. And I think if anyone has seen this classic car, you'll notice that the GTR logo has a big red thing. So I've got some nice, solid car paint red for that. And things are looking good at this point here. So we could keep going on, but I think the point here is use libraries so that you can reuse the work that you've done Once you've got your favorite appearances, you've got the flakes, right? You've got the clear coat, you've got the orange peel strength, all of those things which affect the visibility and appearance of something as important as these aesthetic surfaces here. All right, hope you have some good luck with Render Studio.